So I'm at the gym. Y'all know how I've been talking about how these forced birthers and these Christo-fascists are putting the Bible and the Ten Commandments in the red states. Well, there is pushback, and we all should have known that there was going to be pushback. So Satanists are volunteering at schools in Florida. Satanists are they are volunteering in schools, and freedom of religion and such. So let's get into this article from The Guardian. Dark messengers of Satanism could soon be walking the hallways of Florida's public schools, and it's a consequence of hard right Governor Ron DeSantis' push for more religion in education. Members of the Satanic Temple say they are poised to act as volunteer chaplains under the state law that took effect this week, opening campuses to additional counseling and support to students from outside organizations. Although HB 931 leaves the implementation of chaplain programs to individual school districts and only requires schools to list a volunteer's religion, if any, DeSantis has made it clear its intent to restore the tenets of Christianity to public education. Without the bill, DeSantis said at its signing in April, you're basically saying that God has no place on campus. That's wrong. The Satanists see the law, which comes amid a vigorous theocratic drive into education by the religious right nationally, as an equal opportunity. If Christian chaplains are permitted access to students, often at the most vulnerable and impressionable stages of their lives, then so are they. There are, however, no plans to introduce studies of the dark arts or satanic rituals to any classrooms. The Satanic Temple champions Satan not as literal omnipresent demon, but as a symbol of rebellion and resistance to authoritarianism. It says its strategy here is to highlight flagrant violations of the constitutionally protected separation of church and state. You have theocrats pushing further and further, signing unconstitutional bills into law, and they realize there's no consequence, said Lucien Greaves, co-founder of the Satanic Temple. And they also realize that when people see these laws passed and the outrage comes, they're not even necessarily going to recognize or realize when those laws are later overturned by the courts. They're giving everybody the impression that these types of things are legal. This is just the environment we're living in. And in that way, we're really numbing people to when these things actually do take effect or when they are upheld by a corrupt judge who's playing partisan politics. Reeves said his organization has members ready to volunteer if school districts in any of Florida's 67 counties or charter school governing bodies announce they're signing up for DeSantis' chaplain program. So far, with the law only a week old and campuses on summer recess, none have. The tactics have worked before. When Rick Scott, DeSantis' predecessor, signed a 2013 law promoting prayer sessions and religious freedoms in school, Temple members rallied in support. Almost 90% of respondents to a Guardian poll at the time said Satanists had the same rights to worship in Florida schools as members of other mainstream religions. And perhaps deterred by the prospect of being seen in favor of it, school districts backed away. The temple gained even more prominence later that year by announcing a 7-foot bronze sculpture, a sculpture of a pagan idol, Baphomet, a blend of a human and a goat with angel wings, which would be displayed alongside a recently installed statue of the Ten Commandments at the Oklahoma State Capitol. The Ten Commandments statue was later removed by order of the state's Supreme Court. Elsewhere, the temple pioneered after-school Satan clubs in states where religious groups are permitted to operate on campus. And it says it used threats of eternal damnation to convert school children to their belief system. The program focuses on science, critical thinking, and the creative arts, with no interest in converting children to Satanism. In Florida, meanwhile, DeSantis has promised he will not allow Satanic Temple members in schools. Some have said that if you do a school chaplain program, that somehow you're going to have Satanists running around in all our schools. We're not playing those games in Florida. You don't have to worry about that, he said at the signing, although the Satanic Temple is recognized by the U.S. government as a church. DeSantis says Satanism is not a religion and therefore not qualified to be able to participate, a comment that appeared to contradict a key premise of the bill. It was advanced with the promises that public school chaplain positions would be open to everyone and that chaplains would provide spiritual counsel to students who wanted it but would not proselytize or coerce students into religious activities, the Freedom from Religion Foundation said in a statement. When Florida school districts consider this new law, they now know that those promises were false. You think these people lied? What? When Florida, say, if chaplains are not expected to push their religion onto students, why would DeSantis and others be so concerned about barring chaplains from disfavored minority religions? The assurance that the law will not favor Christian chaplains has been a bald-faced lie from the start. What? These people lying? Them being hypocrites? Say it ain't so. DeSantis' office did not respond to the Guardian's request for comment. Grieve said the temple was prepared to take legal action if the state of Florida attempted to block access to schools. When DeSantis stood at the podium and told people they were going to put chaplains in schools, but Satanists wouldn't be allowed to, he was straight up lying to school districts and opening them up to liability that he's not going to cover. There was nothing written in the law that would exclude us. He can't just declare something like that by fiat and expect it to be treated as law. And if he doesn't understand that, which likely he really doesn't, he obviously has no place being a governor. And wasn't he like a lawyer? I doubt that he misunderstands the law. I am totally sure he knows what's going on with this law. And this is going to go through the courts if these schools open up the schools to different religions. So I am shifting gears. I have been talking about Project 2025 all year. I've literally been making videos and content on it since January. And I believe I might have heard about it back in December, but I started making content on it in January. Now, it looks like Joe Biden put out a tweet and he just said, Google Project 2025. This is recent Google searches. Project 2025 has more searches than Taylor Swift in the NFL. Project 2025 was not really searched or talked about that much. Taraji P. Henson went on the BET Awards and she said something about it here recently, and it spiked, and people started looking it up. And then former President Trump went and made a tweet acting like, I don't know what this is, but I disagree with some of it. So that made people finally start talking about it, and I'm glad that they are. But so you can see. So I did see this post. Project 2025 Google searches are now surpassing Taylor Swift and NFL football. Keep it up, y'all. America is waking up. People are talking about this on multiple social media platforms, and we have got to keep talking about it, keep hammering it home. All of these things that these people are pushing, because they're acting like liberals and Democrats are just like our hair is on fire. No, these people are literally trying to push us into Gilead, and they know that so many people will not read 900 pages. They won't even read what is on the website, and it's not 900 pages. So read the words that these Heritage Foundation people have typed up. They really want to set up a world for WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And they are really pushing this. You got to be straight. You have to. Their definition of family is a man and a woman in a home. They are really talking about banning contraception and further restricting women's rights. They are further trying to smash the gains of DEI and the LGBT community. They are literally trying to roll back all of the civil rights, the feminist rights, the rights that the LGBT have gained over the past few decades. So if you have not cracked open the PDF for Project 2025, you better get on it. I did see this meme floating around where the Heritage Foundation was, checking out the homework or the test from the Taliban. But truthfully, the Heritage Foundation, they're their own entity that is looking to strip women's rights. They just have a different accent and a different shade. That's it. They are literally the same. They just have a different holy book. Anyways, you guys jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
So with all the talk about Project 2025 lately, a lot of people are actually hearing about the Heritage Foundation for the very first time, and they're wondering what it's all about. I just want to give you a brief overview. The Heritage Foundation is a conservative think tank based out of Washington, D.C., that was set up in the 70s, and their goal is to advocate for conservative beliefs in America by creating and promoting public policies for elected officials to adopt. Pretty much every time there's an election, they publish a so-called mandate for leadership with their suggestions for governing. The Heritage Foundation supports far-right Christian nationalist candidates up and down the ballot. They are also part of a really dangerous movement in our country. For example, they spread false claims about election fraud and voter fraud with the intent of casting doubt over our electoral process. They believe in small government and traditional American values, which is just code for extremist Christian values that discriminate against many communities in society, such as women, people of color, and LGBTQ+ individuals. The Heritage Foundation has been operating behind the scenes for decades, and they're the organization behind Project 2025. So if they aren't on your radar, I'd really recommend looking into them so you can see how problematic it is that Donald Trump works so closely with them. This is not a partnership that will be beneficial for us, but it's a partnership that will continue if Trump is elected this November.